What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam, my name is John Dawson, and in today's video, we are going to be hopping into 5 must-start running backs for Week 1 of the 2023 fantasy football season. If you guys are new to the channel, I do kindly ask if you find today's video helpful or enjoyable in any way that you guys consider subscribing. All we do here is free fantasy football content all year round, redraft, dynasty, and best ball. So if you're into that, be sure to subscribe. Other than that, guys, please get in the comment section down below if you have any fantasy questions for Week 1 or for the season, start sits, trades, waiver wire, whatever it is that you guys need. Even if it's just you're excited for Week 1, let me know down below. I can't believe the fantasy football season is starting already. This offseason flew by. I'm so incredibly excited. So let's not waste any more time. Let's hop into 5 must-start running backs for Week 1 of the 2023 fantasy football season. All right, so for the purpose of today's video, we're not talking about Christian McCaffrey or Bijan Robinson or Nick Chubb. We are talking about kind of those RB2s, those guys who maybe you're considering as a flex in some formats, guys who are on your bench, who I think just have great matchups and need to be considered as RB2s and potential flex options moving into Week 1. All right, first overall, I have got Kenneth Walker, a guy I've talked about all offseason long. Even with the addition of Zach Charbonnet to this backfield, I have loved the value that we've been able to select Kenneth Walker at in drafts. And I think that Walker going up against a Rams defense that has turned to absolute hot garbage since that Super Bowl victory. Like, I get Aaron Donald still on this team. There are some playmakers. Guys are going to step up, right? But ultimately, this unit was really bad against the run last year. And Walker is the starter for this Hawks team. He's going to see enough volume. Charbs, is going to take away some touches. He's a very talented back. He's going to get that receiving work, but Walker's not a receiving back. And ultimately, he's in line to score 1 or 2 touchdowns. I think at least. I think he's a lock for a score in this game, and he should rack up the volume. Like, the only issue I see is maybe the Seahawks put up enough points where they don't have to keep the game very competitive, and then we see less of him towards the second half of the game. But ultimately, he's going to do enough damage. We know that Pete Carroll loves to utilize the running back and run the football. Walker is a smash play. If you drafted him, you're probably starting him anyways. But guys, I really think he needs to be locked and loaded in that RB2 spot. He is a great running back moving into Week 1 of the 2023 fantasy football season. All right, number 2 overall, I've got J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens going up against a lousy Houston Texans defense. This was one of the worst units in the league against the run last year. New head coach, defensive-minded coach, made some good moves in the draft, all of that. Maybe they improved this year, but they're still not going to be very good against the run. We'll see, but I just don't. I'm not going to believe that until we see it happen. So for me, I think Dobbins, yeah, there's some risk here coming off of, the injury and everything that's still looming. Even after, he played a bit last year. He was very efficient last year, guys. And at the end of the day, this offense is going to be different with Todd Monken as an offensive coordinator. They're going to be more explosive, more dynamic, all of that stuff. And I think that Dobbins is just going to have more opportunities to get in the red zone. Similar to Walker, I can definitely see Dobbins scoring a touchdown this week, giving you a solid stat line. Once again, my only worry is that maybe the Ravens just put up enough points that they don't have to keep the game as competitive. But I think Dobbins will do enough damage. I think he's a solid start, a very safe start as well. I can't believe I'm saying that because of the injury history, associated with Dobbins, but I really think here in Week 1, he's going to be perfectly fine. He's going to light it up. This offense is going to look really good in Week 1. Dobbins should be a big beneficiary of that, and he should be in your starting rosters moving into Week 1. Number 3 overall, I've got DeAndre Swift going up against the New England Patriots. Yeah, you might be raising your eyebrows for a couple of reasons. One, you might hate Swift because he's burnt you the last 2 years. He's injury prone. I get it. If you guys are familiar with the channel, I'm a big fan of Swift this year. But number 2, you might also be looking at this matchup against New England Patriots and, be shaking your head like, John, this is not a good matchup. And you're right. This New England Patriots defense is very good. They're going to be good against the run. But what I like about Swift is that he's going to be utilized as a pass-catching running back. And I think this game script is going to force the Eagles to throw the football a little bit more. I think Belichick's going to challenge that. And I think Swift is going to benefit from that. He's going to get those dump-off passes. And ultimately, I think in PPR formats, he's a pretty safe start this week. I think there should be enough volume here for him. But on top of that, I think there will be enough volume in the passing game. I think he's going to show up, show us why he's a dynamic player that has something to prove in this league in a contract season with a new team. I've been a fan of Swift as an upside RB2 all off season long. And I think here in week 2, he's absolutely worth the start for the upside alone. I think the game script, like I said, is going to benefit Swift. So don't be too scared of this matchup. Don't be scared if you own Swift. I think ultimately he puts up a good stat line moving into week 1. All right, number 4 overall, I've got David Montgomery, and I get it. Jahmyr Gibbs, the fun pick here. Gibbs has got the upside. He's got the pass catching ability. But when we look at this Kansas City Chiefs team last year, they weren't very good against the run. And when we look at this Lions team last year, one thing they were really good at was running the football. And I think Montgomery, he's not going to score 17 touchdowns like Jamal Williams did last year, but he's going to have that role. It's going to be a very different role from Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think we could easily see Montgomery slide into the end zone, put up a solid stat line, and have PPR, standard and full PPR formats. So I really like Montgomery in what should be a high scoring affair. It's the first game of the season, Thursday Night Football. Historically, this first game of the week, there's not much defense. And I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be out there. They're going to score a lot of points. Montgomery, 801 rushing yards last year, 5 rushing touchdowns, 316 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown last year. I like Monty. We know what he brings to the table. And I think ultimately in a high scoring matchup, he should be a safe lock as an RB2. Or if you're in a position where you need to flex a running back, maybe in a half PPR format or something like that, I think Monty is a really safe start as we approach week 1. All right, number 5 overall, last but not least, I've got Antonio Gibson going up against the Arizona Cardinals. So when we look at Gibson last year, 546 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 353 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns through 15 games. I really like what we've seen out of Gibson through the preseason. He caught that 1 receiving touchdown. I think he's going to be utilized, a little bit differently with the new offensive coordinator, Sam Howell at quarterback. We're going to expect a little bit of a difference in this offense overall. They're not going to be, like what the Eagles did last year or anything crazy. They're not going to take a massive step forward, but they are going to take a step forward. And I think when we look at this matchup against the Cardinals, I mentioned it in the must-start wide receiver videos with Jahan Dotson. This is an incredible matchup for the Washington Commanders in week 1. It's at home. Ultimately, I think Gibson is a smash play. I think he's going to bring some receiving upside. I think he's going to get enough done on the ground. I think he's a great play moving into week 1. And if you own Brian Robinson, don't be afraid to start him as well. This could be a game where the Commanders get up early. They start implementing the run game. I think Robinson and Gibson could have very good stat lines, but I think at the end of the day, Gibson brings a little bit more upside to the table and is the better overall play moving into week 1. That'll do it for today's video. There are 5 must-start running backs as we approach week 1 of the 2023 fantasy football season. Guys, if you did find today's video helpful, enjoyable, whatever it may be, or if you just want more fantasy football content in your algorithm, this is all we do here all year long. Redraft, Dynasty, and Best Ball. I would greatly appreciate if you guys consider subscribing on your way out. But more importantly, get in the comments section. Starts, sits, trades, waiver wire, overall excitement for week 1 of the fantasy season. Let me know down below. I'll get back to your guys' comments as soon as I possibly can. I want to do whatever I can to help you guys win in week 1 and win all year long in fantasy football. So with that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch.